go ahead and get our meeting started. We'll start out with roll call of directors.
Phil Lloyd,
Here.
Brian Kurtz,
Here.
Tom Okenfuss,
Here.
and I'm here, and we have a quorum.
Alrighty, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
On to minutes of the last meeting. Everybody get a chance to read them?
I need to get my papers.
I didn't see any concerns or trouble with it.
I know you weren't at the meeting.
Yeah, I got them in mail, I read them.
Oh, okay.
Everything was good on it today, so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last
We
meeting.
have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as read.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We will move on to the treasurer's report. And we'll let Sue do some talking.
Check to firm Bowman, $200, Sue was $184.70, federal withholding was $30.60. SR excavating was $1,225, Citizens Electric $159.90, Tom Okenfuss $440, Hush Blackwell was $4,172.40, Cut and Edge Landscaping was $2,794, William Siebert was $337.50, and AT&T was $85.05, and that left us with an ending balance of $131,071.73.
231. 231.
131,071.73.
Thank you.
And then our current bills outstanding is from the attorney. And then Missouri Employees Mutual, they went up $200 this year. And then we have the bill from Bowman Contracting.
I assume, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it is.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve our bills?
I'll make a motion. I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor to approve, pay our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, we'll move right along to old business. Conveyance survey, what is that, Sue?
The conveyance survey is the property to convey over to the Fish and Wildlife Service. So Fish and Wildlife has had an opportunity to look at all the easements, rights of way, and went through their process with their people. And they have determined that, it kind of comes down to what we've been discussing, is that the borrow pit, or Lake Audubon as they want to refer to it, is something that they don't want to take over if the levee district is going to continue to have access to it and potentially use it. Doesn't mean we're going to have to, but they don't want to make improvements and then have those improvements interrupted if we would need to borrow soil from that pit, because that's the only spot that's registered. So the thought is, why don't we just carve out Lake Audubon in that area and then just come up with a survey split it, and that's the area that you convey to the Fish and Wildlife Service so that they can do their improvements to that, and, bring back trees and put in whatever improvements that they can come up with. If they don't have fee title, like if we keep the borrow pit and they want to do any improvements to it, they can't get federal money. They have to have fee title to it. So there's no improvements that will be made to that particular area until and unless the levee district would find another area that had the right soils that were approved by Corps of Engineers. So the idea is then, why don't we just keep it until that time, there's then no rush to try to find property that you could borrow the dirt from if you had to make repairs. And Fish and Wildlife can then begin to make their changes and their improvements to the area that they want to improve for education and recreation. So what I'm bringing back to you all is, do you want us to continue that? We've surveyed the levee itself. We know where the tree line begins, we know where the toe of the levee is. We can now determine what area is the borrow pit, partition it off, have Jerry Bader do the rest of that and make it a recreation area for Fish and Wildlife. Take it to the board, split that, and then you can then look at conveying that portion that would be able to be improved. This way they can utilize the federal money that's available, and then in the future, you can look at conveying the other part of it when it comes down to, well, we don't need to, we found another area to use, or something changes that unforeseen that we don't know about. So, what we're looking at is, do you want us to then move forward with the survey? The board has given the approval for the funding last year. We can re-up it this year. But they did it with the understanding that we were going to finish this process and eventually convey it. But this is the group that eventually has to convey that property, being that it's joint levy commission property. So what we're looking at is, do you want us to continue, but to break off that borrow pit so it is available? And if you have access anyway, right along the levee, the right-of-way connects to the borrow pit area. So you'll still have access. You don't have to go through the other piece. And that keeps Fish and Wildlife from being kind of worried about a roundabout way of getting into the borrow pit to get the soil that you would need, because then it might damage what they've tried to improve.
I guess is that ground out there that we'd be conveying to them, is that really of no use to the levee district otherwise?
I mean, the city owns it. It's the city's property. All I know is that
A borrow pit
Lake Audubon is our
is a borrow pit,
Yeah.
yeah. In which is, that was the only thing in question is to have access to that borrow pit. And it sounds like, if there's any question, Fish and Wildlife will want to have it.
It's joint levy commission property. The city manages it, and we work with M&M Farms, or the Kurtz Farms, to crop it. And they're the ones that go out there and do what they do, and so it has some use to it. But that's the only use. Otherwise, it has to go through this board to approve that conveyance to the Fish and Wildlife. The city can't do that. We can split it, but that's just our legislative function.
How many acres is it again? How many acres are we looking at conveying?
And I haven't done the calculation, but we're looking at like 214 originally, so we're probably down to about 140 some that would be conveyed.
How does that affect your operation out there? Do you know what area they're talking about?
Well, the borrow pit comes up to the edge of the field,
Yeah.
but, right now, we're not affected at all.
But if they take that over, you're gonna lose
It's
that.
gonna be all of the croppable land that's accessible.
On the outside of the levee?
Yeah, outside levee. We don't do anything with what's on the inside,
Yeah.
and we still have access.
Is there any way we can give them an easement to use Lake Audubon? Let them survey it out, and they could use it forever if we don't need the dirt. If we're gonna use it, we're just gonna make a bigger lake for them.
Right. But what they can't do is make improvements to it. That's
But they could go up and make improvements to the border of our, whatever they wanna do. And we
They
could
could do stuff to the
sign
edge,
some
but
kind
they
of
can't.
waiver or something that you can watch all the birds you want, do what you want there.
Well, people will
But
probably
when
be
we
doing
need
that,
it.
people will be doing that anyway.
Right.
That's the whole idea of it, so, you're in, that's why we're doing all this, is for public access and public recreation, you know, so. I mean, they ain't gonna own it, but people are doing that now, they can go out there and walk around Lake Audubon, you know, and fish even in it. You know, there's no rules or regulations that they can, so. I would say the best thing is to continue to do what we're doing, is if they don't, until that time comes, because that's always been a contention, is that burrow pit. So if we ever do need it, you got it, you know.
Okay. Well,
Just so we're not giving
I
up
think
any
we
other
ought to-
dirt out there that could
Right.
potentially be used as a borrow area, you
I
know?
mean, it'd be silly for us
Because
to
I know
give it up
sometimes
and
it's
not
hard
have
to
no
find dirt
place
if
to
you
go
gotta
if we
repair
had
a
a
levee.
rupture.
So, that's my always, you know, I'm always on the side of making sure we don't give up something we're gonna need, but I kinda came into this conversation late, so I don't know what's been talked about.
Well, there's been a lot of work going into this with Fish and Wildlife to push to make, matter of fact, Bernie, I wish he were here. He's one of the people that has been responsible for moving this thing along with Fish and Wildlife, so.
Yeah, well, and if that's been something that's been in the works, I don't wanna be the one to stop it by any means, I just don't feel like I know enough about it
Yeah.
either, so.
So what you have to do is you have to find an area and start testing soil and see if it meets the Corps of Engineers.
Well, sure, yeah, I
specifications.
know that they're very specific on what dirt qualifies and what.
We already have that spot at that borrow pit.
Right.
So it makes all the sense in the world to keep it just like it is and let them do their thing on the upper end of it. And then if 20 years from now, they don't need it or wanna do it, then somebody else can deal with that, you know, so. Well, you know, if it- how long has it been? I would see, the only time you would need that is if there was a big levee failure, wouldn't it?
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
but
A slide or anything, you know.
Yeah, so you just never
Some kind
know.
of failure.
that's the thing, you don't know, and sometimes it can take a heck of a lot of dirt to fix a.
And that's what
breach in the
that's
levee.
what that's for already, because that's, Corps already designated that for that, so.
So I think we need to continue on with their survey, but just go around our,
Borrow pit.
So what I need from this group is a motion and a second, and, you know, just a voice vote saying,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead and move forward with it, and then I can get hold of, Jerry Bader and have him continue what he was doing. And then we'll take it to the Board of Aldermen, or we'll go to P and Z to split it. Board of Aldermen will approve it as well, and I'll get to hear about it, and then we bring it back here to actually make the conveyance. And Fish and Wildlife is not in any rush to do this, so we've got time to get it done, but let's just keep the process going, is why I want to bring it here.
so we need someone to make a motion to survey. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we let them continue to survey and survey out our borrow site
Mhm.
and go on with it like that. Is that correct? Yep. So we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Ayes have it. I think it's that. That's what you
Good.
need to go ahead with your, yeah, good to me. With Norm not being here, I don't know if we got any old business news. We're still on old business. I haven't talked to him about getting any rock put on the levee yet, but I know everybody, the truckers are all still busy or all get outs with asphalt and so.
Yeah. Weather's been
It might
pretty
be
good.
a later date. I haven't heard anything from him on, we're supposed to have a federal inspection sometime in the next month, so we haven't had any word from that yet. Okay. So, other than that, I don't have anything else on old business. Anybody else? I don't. You don't?
Unless we want to, is the.
I think
situation
we're
with
gonna,
Todd,
I know
old
Todd's,
business, or is that in a different area?
well, I don't know. section.
Okay, okay, that's
That's what
fine,
the bottom of this part is.
that's fine.
So we will get on to Mr. Todd here in a little bit. Okay, let's move on to new business, election of a supervisor.
And Vern Bowman is up this year.
Bernie's up, and he told you he would stay another term long as,
Well, I don't think for the term,
Term.
but he will stay, he wants to stay until that FEMA project's closed out, and we just like did that appeal work, and he wants to at least see that through.
okay. I make a motion, we put Vern up to get reelected.
I second.
We have a motion on the floor, that Vern got railroaded. All in favor, say aye.
Hey, don't put that in the paper. Burn that railroad.
Okay. We all vote, signify by saying aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Vern. Any other new business? Anybody got anything? Brian, you got anything with cropping or you wanna bring up?
No, not right. Well, I don't know if it's gonna work out, but we talked before about that dirt along the Gallery Creek that's piled up along the edge.
Yeah.
Maybe taking it and putting that washout area in the middle of the field.
That's on the north side of the creek.
Be on that.
You're good, yeah.
Yeah, be on the north side of the
Are
creek.
you on, just on that one pile? Is that what you got? Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't probably take much of it, but there's a few spots in there that needs a little dirt. Maybe
It could be the rougher, chunky stuff too, couldn't it?
it could be.
I mean, cause it sticks and everything else.
Well, sticks now.
Till you got down in it, I mean, to fill the hole and then put something better over it.
Yeah.
It's deep, there's some, we can show you where there's the rougher, the rock sticks, and you bury it, if you got a deep fill, I don't know what you
I
got.
mean, if it's okay with the city, you know, there's a spot in the field from years ago when we had flash floods.
A deep,
The water shot across there and washed a big gully out in the middle. It used to be a ditch, a drainage ditch, but now it's probably 5, 6 foot deep in there.
it's 8 or 10 foot deep, man, right there by the.
Well, 5 or 6 in there.
Well, there's some rough stuff to
What
bury.
are you talking about, the dirt?
Yeah, in that hole, no,
Oh.
where it's washed,
It's just probably 5, 6 foot deep.
so you could put some rougher stuff that you can't use.
Yeah.
Well, there's rocks and
Yeah.
sticks and all the weeds, just throw it all in there and cover up with better stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it's got about 18 inches of dirt over the top of it.
Yeah, there's plenty of, well, waste. That could be off that back home, the north pole, on the north side of the creek. I don't know how you're getting it there, so I don't know, yeah, I don't know what.
Well, it might not even work out, you know, it kind of depends on the weather too. If you know, we'd probably use that dirt fan tractor.
Well, that's something we gotta discuss with you afterwards.
So,
Okay.
Does somebody at the top load of a pilot or excavator or something?
That'd be good.
Where they are fast.
Yeah, hands on the little fan.
would we need to stage it on the,
That north one that's sitting there forever.
on the other side of the house?
Top of the hill, you could crawl up on that.
Well, this is actually on the north end. It's
Is
piled
that what
up.
we're dumping some stuff?
There's a ridge piled up along the creek.
Oh, yeah, they'd be in front of
On
that.
the inside of the pump
You guys
station.
have done
about with-
That bean showed up was all rough stuff.
Probably goes
Yeah.
about 600 yards around the edge of the creek.
Okay. Yeah, you
Stuff
know,
they
I don't
put
have
out
a problem
over the
with
years,
that.
back before I was on board.
I know, I can tell by looking at some of them, what's the rough
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. You can't even tell it's there now, it's all grown over weeds, so.
Perfect, yeah.
But, yeah, probably about 600 yards of dirt, or it's probably in a windrow about 600 yards long now. Somewhere in there. They're probably not.
That pile that's there,
Yeah.
yeah, at least that much, if not a thousand yards. And it's been dug out. He said feet, 10 feet long, not yards, not a yard of material, he meant yards long. Oh, yards long? Hey, that long.
No, it would be that one, probably a couple hundred.
Yeah, there's probably 600. Oh, I ain't questioning that, but you're on the wrong page. Oh, okay. I'm okay. We don't, well. Okay,
But we can.
Anybody else got anything under new business? Phil?
No, I
Miss
don't.
Sue? Okay, I have nothing there. Let's move on to public participation. Mr. Mayor, give us some words of wisdom.
Nothing. Doing a great job, thank you.
Happy?
I don't have anything else besides the survey.
Okay. Mr. Eric, anything?
Well, all I was gonna say is one of the runners said that they appreciated how well maintained the levee was during the levee loop on Saturday.
Very good. It does look good. I ride it almost daily. Just looking for gophers or
Yeah.
armadillos or whatever.
Those little creatures can create a big problem.
We got a real nice buck up there.
Oh, there
Yeah. Up on the upper end in the conservation area, there's a real nice buck running. He's pretty. Okay, if we don't have any public participation, at this time, how do I do that? We wanna go into a private session. Happy, what do I do there?
So what you need to start, well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610-021-1, legal action, litigation. And then there has to be a roll call, so you have to have a motion and a second, and then a roll call of the board.
Okay. So we need to, close this section. I'm gonna reopen that, how do we do that? Just,
I make a motion
There you
to go into closed session to discuss section 610.021, legal action litigation.
and we have a motion on the floor to close the meeting for a minimal amount of time. We'll go ahead and do that by signifying by saying aye.
You have to have a roll call.
Roll call.
Aye.
You have
You
to
have to
roll
roll
call.
call. You have to call us all out, so we can answer you.
Okay. So we need a roll call of the director.
Phil Lloyda,
Here.
Brian Kurtz,
Here.
Tom Okafor.
Here.
And Sue, yes. So motion carries with a 4-0 vote.